Who is Jesus? A lot of people have come up with different answers to that question. Some will say that he's a prophet, that he is a man with great wisdom, that was something special, to recognize that about him, because they saw things from him, or there's records of things from him that no one else could do. And so he must have been something special. And he was definitely a wise speaker. Some think that he was just an influential thinker, that he was somewhat of a rebel who dared to be different and speak against the powers that be. And that's what made him stand out amongst everybody at the time, because he was saying what nobody else would say. He had the courage to do that. Some say he was just a charismatic presence, that people loved to hear him speak, and he could capture people's emotions and feelings, and that's why he was able to gather such large groups of people, and that's what he's still remembered for today. There's a million different theories on Jesus. There's still others that believe that he is God, but through false theories, they put constraints on him. Like, some say that he is God, but he is less God than God the Father. Along those lines, some say that he is God, but they say that he was created by the Father, meaning that he is a lesser God than the Father, and that he is a created being that's not everlasting, not eternal. Some say that he is 50% God and 50% man, thus diminishing his humanness and his godliness. Some say that the purpose for which he came was to show us how to live and not to save us. And of course, there's a million more theories on who Jesus is. Scripture leaves no doubt. In John chapter 1, verses 1 to 5, and then verse 14 says this: "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him everything was made, and without him not one thing was made that has been made. In him was life, and the life was the light of mankind. The light is shining in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. The Word became flesh and dwelled among us. We have seen his glory, the glory he has as the only begotten from the Father, full of grace and truth." Jesus is the Word that John is talking about here. And John says that the Word, Jesus, is God. That he was with God in the beginning, meaning that he has always existed. That he was one of the ones who took part in the creation of everything that exists. In fact, everything exists because of Jesus, because Jesus is God. That he is light, and that light overcomes the darkness. He wins victory over the darkness. And verse 14 says that God became flesh. And so when we think about Jesus, we think about God becoming flesh, that he was 100% man and 100% God. He was, in fact, God, and still is God. You might ask, is this just a theological discussion, or why does this matter? In order for God's justice to be satisfied, God himself would need to be sacrificed. That sacrifice for sin had to be big enough to take away the sins of the whole world, to cover over the sins of the entire world. God had to be sacrificed. So Jesus was and is God, which means that because he died on the cross, he was able to cover over the sins of the entire world, to pay for the sins of the entire world, because his sacrifice was big enough. You might hear a million more theories about who Jesus is, but make no mistake about it. John says the Word was with God. The Word was God. The Word became flesh and dwelled among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son, who came from the Father, full of grace and truth.